So, good morning students, welcome back to biology class. In last class we discussed about Bryophyta. So, in this class one of the important group of plants under plant kingdom, that is Pteridophyta. The pteridophytes are commonly found in cool place, then damp and shady places, and they are well flourished in sandy soil. Okay. So, they are commonly found in a cool place, damp place, shady place, and well flourished in sandy soil. Okay. Then the plant body is sporophyte. Plant body is sporophyte because they produce spores, spore producing plant body. The plant body is well developed, and the plant body is differentiated into, sporophyte is differentiated into root, stem and leaves. Okay. The sporophyte is diploid. Sporophyte is diploid and clearly distinguished of root, stem and leaf. Okay. They are primitive vascular plants or primitive tracheophytes because they have xylem and phloem. They have xylem and phloem, so they are not well developed xylem and phloem as compared to gymnosperm and angiosperm, the primitive vascular tissues, so they are called primitive vascular plants or tracheophytes because they are having tracheids, and so it is called Tracheophyta, or we can say primitive vascular plants. Okay. Then the sporophyte, that means spore producing plant, that is a diploid, especially the leaves may be small microphyls. They have small leaves, that is called microphyls, or they may be large leaves, or they have large leaves, that is called macrophyll. That means the leaf may be small or large, that is a microphyll or macrophyll. Okay. So, I told that the plant body is a sporophyte, they produce spores. The spores are produced in a special structure that is called sporangium. Spores are produced in sporangium. These sporangium are develops in the ventral surface of the leaf. Okay, that the leaf that produces the sporangium, that is called sporophyll. What do you call a sporophyll? That means they produce spore. The leaf is specially modified. That is a specialized leaf, that's all. Specialized leaf that has the sporangium, they produce spores. The spores may be homosporous or heterosporous. That means in the pteridophytes, majority of pteridophytes they produce the spores are of same type, that is homosporous, that is Lycopodium, Equisetum, Dryopteris, Pteris. They are all homosporous, that means they produce same type of spores. But some plants like Selaginella and Salvinia, they produce different types of spores, that is called heterosporous. Heterosporous. That means pteridophytes produce either a same type of spores or different type of spores. When it produces same type of spores, they are called homosporous. Different type of spores, that is heterosporous. In that different type of spores, Two types of spores idala. One is called microspore, another one is called macrospore. That means heterosporous condition idala that produce two types of spores. One is microspores, small one is microspore and large one is macrospores. But in homospores all the spores are same. The size and shape, the structure is similar. But here heterosporous, one is small, another one is large. The smaller one is called microspores and large one is called macrospores. Okay, that means the sporophytes, that means the pteridophytes may produce the homospores or heterospores. Clear? Then these spores are released from the sporangium. Spores are released from sporangium. That spore develop into gametophyte. So here the dominant phase is sporophyte. Remember bryophyta. First phase is gametophyte. Dominant phase is gametophyte. Long-lived phase is gametophyte in bryophyta. But in pteridophyta, the long-lived phase, the dominant phase is a sporophyte. They produce spores in a sporangium, that may be microspores or macrospores. These spores are developed into spores develops into gametophyte, gamete producing phase, gamete producing plant body. This gametophyte of pteridophyta is called prothallus because they are thalloid, dorsiventrally flattened. They having rhizoids for absorption of water and minerals. Here this prothallus is not differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Though this is prothallus means they are thalloid. They are thalloid, dorsiventrally flattened, green, and they are photosynthetic. Photosynthetic, they prepare their own food. That means in pteridophyta, sporophyte generation and gametophyte generation both are independent. Just think about that bryophyta. First phase is gametophyte. They produce gametes. Gametes are fused to form zygote, zygote develop into sporophyte. The sporophyte depends on gametophyte for food and nourishment. They are not independent. But here, pteridophyta, the plant body is independent plant body, sporophyte. The sporophyte produce spores in the sporangium. Spores are released. The spores are developed into new plant body, that is gametophyte. Gametophyte is photosynthetic. That means they are independent. They not depends on sporophyte. Moreover, this gametophyte also required water. That means they are also found in a damp place or shady place, in a cool place. That is why the pteridophyte also restricted to narrow geographical region. They required water for fertilization. That is a transfer of gametes. Because the prothallus is a gametophyte, they produce the gametes. Gametes produce a special sex organ. That is, in the prothallus, the gametes are produced in a male sex organ, that is antheridium, male sex organ. They produce anthrozoids, female sex organ, that is archegonium. They produce egg. Egg is large, non-motile. Anthrozoid is small and motile. There is a oogamous type. Oogamous type of sexual reproduction. So in a prothallus, there is nothing but what gametophyte. They produce the two sex organ, that is a male sex organ and a female sex organ. male sex organ is antheridium, female sex organ is archegonium. Antheridium produce a male gamete, male sex cell called anthrozoids, and female sex cell, the female gamete is called egg. These two are fused to form zygote. That zygote once again develop into sporophyte. That means the pteridophyta also shows alternation of generation. Alternation of generation. In almost all plant kingdom, those shows alternation of generation. Here, clear-cut alternation of generation, that is, plant body is a sporophyte independent plant. They produce spores. Spores are developed into gametophyte, that is called prothallus. Prothallus produce sex organ, antheridium and archegonium. They produce sex cells, anthrozoids and egg, fused. That means fertilization takes place. Zygote is formed. Zygote once again develop into sporophyte. So, sporophytic generation alternate with gametophytic generation. Here both sporophyte and gametophytes are independent. Clear? And one more thing is, in pteridophyta, the spores may be homospores or heterospores. Spores may be homospores or heterospores, is it not? When the plant is produce homospores, that spore develop into prothallus, that spore develop into gametophyte. That prothallus has both male and female sex organ in the same thallus. Clear? When the plant produce, the sporophyte produce the heterospores. That means one is microspore, another one is macrospore. Microspore develop into male gametophyte, macrospore develop into female gametophyte. That means male prothallus, female prothallus, independent. The separate thallus are formed from microspore and macrospore. So, after the formation of prothallus, the sex organs are formed. So, in male prothallus, male sex organ, antheridium. Female prothallus, that is macrospore develop into female prothallus, they produce archegonium and it produces egg. Then once again fertilization takes place, then zygote is formed, that develop into new plant body, that is sporophyte. One more thing is, the plant body sporophyte is diploid, gametophyte is haploid, because during the spore formation meiosis takes place. Haploid spores are produced, that haploid spore develop into haploid gametophyte. Clear? Well, these are the characters of pteridophyte. Clear? Okay. Then classification of pteridophytes. Classification of pteridophytes. Pteridophytes are classified into 4 classes. How many classes? 4 classes. Number 1, Psilotopsida. Psilotopsida. The best example is a Psilotum. Then Lycopsida, example Lycopodium, example Lycopodium. Third one is Sphenopsida, Sphenopsida, example Equisetum, that is commonly called horsetail. Then fourth one is Pteropsida, example is Dryopteris or Pteris. Okay, this is about what the classification. The classification of pteridophytes, that includes 4 classes: Psilotopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida, with the example. Xylotopsida, xylotum. Lycopsida, lycopodium. Sphenopsida, equisetum. Pteropsida, Triopteris or Pteris or Neprolepis. Different examples are there. Okay. This is about what classification of pteridophyte. Next, last concept in this one, economic importance or uses of pteridophytes. So, pteridophytes are used as for ornamentation, These plants are grown as an ornamental plant. Okay. Sometimes these plants also used to prepare medicine. Some tribal peoples are used as food. They also used as a food by tribal peoples. And these pteridophyte also grown as soil binders. That means they prevent soil erosion. This is a little bit of economic importance. Clear? This is about what pteridophyte. Okay. Thank you. Bye.